Picture the year 1975. We're instantly dropping into a smallholder plot in Sri Lanka. There's an agronomist standing there with a clipboard, and he's just watching this in a state of slow disbelief. He's observing a local woman harvesting her crop. But here's the crazy part. She isn't actually moving from plant to plant. Instead, she's pulling 4 entirely different types of food from a single, continuous vine that's elegantly climbed a bamboo pole right beside her kitchen door. From this one solitary plant, her family is eating 4 completely different ways. As the quote goes, 4 crops, 1 vine, 1 root system. I mean, it sounds like absolute botanical magic, right? But as the agronomy world logged that day, it was simply a profound display of biological efficiency. It was this elegant marvel of nature, completely documented, completely proven by science, and yet somehow the modern agricultural world just kind of forgot about it. So today, in this explainer, we're going to unpack the exact science behind this forgotten powerhouse and show you how it scales all the way down to a simple jar sitting right there on your windowsill. All right, Section 1, Anatomy of a Superfood, Psophocarpus tetragonolobus. Let's dive right in.
So let's do a botanical breakdown of this specific plant, which you might actually know as the winged bean. It basically acts as an incredibly efficient 4-in-1 nutritional engine. If you imagine this plant illuminated by some really clean, natural window lighting, you can clearly see its distinct 4-part edible anatomy. First, right at the top, you've got these tender, nutrient-dense leaves that you can harvest continuously, kind of like spinach. Second, moving down the vine, it produces these young, crisp, 4-sided green pods. Third, if you leave those pods to grow, they yield mature, incredibly high-protein seeds. And finally, this is the wildest part. Hiding beneath the soil, the plant develops starchy, protein-rich underground tubers. Literally every single layer of this plant is designed to feed you.
Now, I want you to look at this staggering number, 20,000. That is the amount of vitamin A measured in international units found in just 100 grams of the winged bean's leaves. When you steep these leaves in hot water or maybe drop them into a simmering broth, you're essentially extracting a naturally grown daily multivitamin. And you can cultivate the whole thing right on a sunny sill. But let's look at what is probably the most astonishing metric of all here. When we isolate the mature seeds of the winged bean, the nutritional data is absolutely staggering. These seeds boast a 29 to 35% protein density by weight. Compare that directly to lean beef, which comes in at around 21 grams of protein per 100 grams. Yeah, you heard that right. Seed for seed, this botanical marvel fundamentally outperforms a cow in pure protein density, gram for gram. It's wild. And the efficiency doesn't stop above ground. Beneath the soil, that subterranean root system produces a tuber yielding 7 to 10 grams of protein per 100 grams. Just think about your standard potato for a second. This is significantly higher in protein, and it combines a mildly sweet starch with the crisp texture of a water chestnut. You can literally just dig them out, wash them, and boil them right alongside the leaves and pods. The whole shebang is edible. Decades after that initial observation in Sri Lanka, modern science finally put it on the official record. A 2020 peer-reviewed journal called Legume Science officially classified the winged bean's profound biochemistry, labeling it, and I quote, a future superfood owing to its high protein, fat, and micronutrient content and its adaptability. So yeah, the science finally confirmed exactly what that woman with the bamboo pole already knew back in the 70s. Moving on to Section 2, the biochemistry, amino acid pairing. Let's transition from the macro structure of the plant down to the molecular level. We need to understand how we actually utilize these proteins for fuel and how they interact with our human digestion. In nutritional science, we are always looking for a complete protein. Take a second to really digest this definition. It's a food source containing an adequate proportion of all 9 essential amino acids necessary for human dietary needs. Picture elegant 3D amino acid molecules floating around and linking together perfectly. When they align just right, they form the absolute optimal biological fuel for the human body. But, plant proteins often need a partner to actually make that perfect link. And that brings us to the biochemical synergy of food pairing. It's like a molecular puzzle. Legumes, like our winged beans or even dry lentils, are incredibly heavy in the amino acid lysine. Cereal grains, on the other hand, like wheat berries, are heavy in the amino acid methionine. Put them together in one bowl, and boom, you synthetically complete the protein chain. It is a perfect molecular lock-and-key mechanism that nutrition textbooks teach as the ultimate way to extract high-density protein for pennies. Why does this matter to us? Because it proves you do not need expensive supplements to get high-quality fuel. You just need to purposefully pair the right basic ingredients. Which leads us to Section 3, Agronomic Biology, the Soil Nitrogen Engine. Zooming back out to the soil level, we find another massive layer of biological engineering. The winged bean doesn't just take nutrients from the earth, it actually gives back through this hidden symbiotic relationship that powers its tremendous growth. The plant acts as its own fertilizer through a process called natural nitrogen fixation. Basically, symbiotic bacteria gather right at the legume's root system. The plant actually pulls atmospheric nitrogen directly from the air around it. The bacteria convert it into usable nutrients for growth, and incredibly, it leaves the remaining fertility right there in the soil. Whatever you plant there next season literally eats what the bean left behind. It is a brilliant, completely self-sustaining loop.
All right, section 4, windowsill sprouting mechanics.
Now, you don't need a massive farm to harness this legume science. It actually scales down beautifully to the home environment, specifically your own windowsill, through the rapid biology of sprouting. The biological transformation that happens in a simple glass jar is honestly remarkable. Take dry soybeans, for example. In just 5 days of soaking and rinsing, they yield 13 grams of protein per 100 grams. Mung beans, they transform in 3 to 5 days, yielding 9 grams of protein when cooked. And if you put dry peas in a shallow tray of dirt, in just 13 days, you have fresh pea shoots delivering 4 to 5 grams of protein. You are literally multiplying available nutrients using absolutely nothing but water, light, and a little bit of time. And finally, section 5, biological defenses, deactivating antinutrients. Now, as we climax this scientific deep dive into this explainer, we absolutely have to address a vital rule of biology. Because these seeds are so nutrient-dense, nature didn't just leave them defenseless. Seeds are biologically designed to survive in the wild until it's time to grow. To do this, raw seeds and sprouts carry naturally occurring anti-nutrients. These are biological defenses designed by nature to deter animals and pests. Because of this, we cannot, I repeat, cannot just eat them raw without a second thought. We have to purposefully deactivate these defenses using basic, proven food science. So the absolutely crucial point here is following these exact thermodynamic and sanitation steps. First, you've got to maintain strict sanitation. Use a clean glass jar and a clean shelf, always. Second, you rinse the beans and sprouts thoroughly twice a day to keep bacterial growth at bay. And third, you must apply heat. You have to cook your sprouts in a hot pan for at least 2 to 5 minutes. This is an absolute safety guideline, especially vital for soy sprouts. 5 minutes of high heat safely and fully neutralizes all those biological defenses, rendering them completely safe, highly nutritious, and totally ready to eat. Which leaves us with this final thought for today's explainer. We've seen the hard data. If a single seed can act as its own fertilizer by fixing nitrogen directly from the air, yield 4 distinct edible crops from a single vine, and fundamentally outperform beef in protein density, what other astonishing botanical efficiencies are just waiting to be rediscovered and grown right on our own windowsills?